Pope Leo has made a historic apology for the Vatican's role in permitting the transatlantic slave trade. Past popes gave European nations the right to enslave non-Christians, and more than 12 million Black Africans were taken captive and brought to the Americas. Leo, the first US Pope, is descendant from both slaves and slave owners. His apology was made at the presentation of his first encyclical, Magnifica, humanitas, a manifesto about safeguarding humanity in an era of increasing reliance on artificial intelligence. But the Pope went further, drawing a link between the historic slave trade and what he called new forms of slavery and colonialism that the digital revolution is fueling. He also warned that some autonomous weapons systems are beyond human control.
Artificial intelligence needs to be disarmed. The word is strong, I know, but deliberately chosen because this moment needs words capable of attracting attention, awakening consciences, and indicating paths forward for humanity. Only together, those who design systems and those affected by them, richer countries and poorer ones, institutions and individuals, power centers and peripheries, will we be able to build a future not for a privileged few, but for the entire human family.
One figure at the side of Pope Leo was Professor Léocadie Lushombo, a theologian. Originally from DRC, she criticizes tendencies toward neo-colonialism. Africa, she said, does not exist merely to be mined and exploited.
Colonialism assumes new forms. It no longer dominates only bodies, but appropriates data, transforming personal lives into exploitable information, end of quote. Yes, AI can very easily be.
And Professor Lushombo is back in Berkeley, California, where she teaches at the Jesuit School of Theology of Santa Clara University. Welcome to DW News Africa, Professor. We will get to the point you were making on AI potentially being a new form of colonialism. But I want to first begin with Pope Leo apologizing for what he described as the Catholic Church's failure to protect Africans during the transatlantic slave trade. Can you remind us about the role the Church played at the time? And why did Pope Leo decide to make the apology now?
Pope Leo reminded the role of the Church in relation to slavery because just like all religious institutions, the Church and the Catholic Church also, felt to condemn slavery as it was happening and profited, from slavery. And this, throughout the years, the Church has been recognizing, so Pope Leo is not the first that actually recognized that failure to condemn slavery in the past. So previous Pope before him did the same. And the Church still recognizing that any form of slavery need to be condemned. And that's why apologizing for the failure to not condemning it, as much as it deserved to be condemned, and not get involved because, every institution literally, was involved in slavery throughout history.
Understood. In Magnifica, humanitas, Pope Leo is warning that artificial intelligence is leading to new forms of slavery. Can you explain that for us?
Yes. So one of the form AI is leading to is, and that Magnifica humanitas underline, and that is very much related to slavery. It's the keeping people in condition of dependence, right? So slavery has this one characteristic of controlling human consciences, and AI tend to play that role. So Magnificat Humanitas is reminding that to be cautious in relation to that. And another aspect is the fact that workers are being used in many ways, predominantly women, working class, are being exploited, right? Given minimum wages or nothing at all. And another aspect that is related to AI as it's related to the supply chain of mineral resources is human trafficking and every aspect that is about commodification of persons.
Right.
So these aspect very much that picture what slavery looked like.
Right then. So what do you see, Professor, as the Catholic Church's role in governing, if I can use that word, artificial intelligence, coming off of the Pope saying there was this historic injustice in the form of the transatlantic slave trade that we benefited from, we didn't do enough to stand up for people, and now we are in this, sort of world where we're talking about this technology and the impact that it's having in communities like what you're describing for us. So what then becomes the Church's role in all of this as you see it?
The main role of the Church is really affirming human dignity wherever human dignity is being, overlooked. And the Church reminds that even since Pope Leo XIII, during the Industrial Revolution, so Pope Leo XIII did not really gather, different institutions that were involved in terms of, workers and exploitation of human beings, and Pope Leo XIV now has the opportunity in this time of more modern era, artificial intelligence, to gather different institutions. So the Church doesn't mean to govern AI. The Church means to facilitate and underline the principle of subsidiarity that has always been teaching, where everyone has a say and everyone has to gather on the table. And this is another aspect of the synodal church that the Church has embraced since Pope Francis, right? So people need to get together, on the table and discuss, how we can use artificial intelligence for the common good rather than the other way around, right? Rather than artificial intelligence to damage, the common good.
Understood.
So, and that the Church is playing.
Understood. Pope Leo appointed you to the Dicastery of Integral Human Development, and that effectively makes you one of the most senior female voices in the Vatican. Perhaps tell us about the work that you do in that role, what it entails, but also how does it feel having that responsibility?
Well, it feels very responsible, right? And also it feels being a church, being a member of the church, So it's a wonderful experience. And again, the experience where you have the opportunity to embody, right, the principle of participation, the principle of responsibility, that is for us all to embody. So this is my way of doing it. So I'm very grateful to be part of this. And all that is possible to learn through the Dicastery. And another way is, I'm a teacher and I have been teaching, Catholic social teaching and economics. I have teaching Christian ethics and migration, political theology. So what is coming up through the Dicastery is like, bringing all that together and, to teach really from the global perspective, which is one of the vision of Santa Clara University. So I really feel, responsible in that sense in terms of participating in this, global vision of affirming once more human dignity.
Well, thanks for that and for your time, Professor Léocadie Lushombo.
Thank you so much. Thank you.